Okay, so perhaps just a few words on further. We have a stand outside, so anybody who wants a bit more information, please come up. Very quickly, we're a slightly unique organisation. We essentially are focused on providing solutions for serious medical conditions, and those solutions are typically a one-size-fits-all solution for employers that typically have a multi-market exposure, and we always look to provide benefits that are absolutely uniform. So whatever is being developed or delivered in one country, that would be exactly the same product across multiple markets. Why serious medical conditions and why is that relevant? I think also just walking around outside with the exhibitors, you can see very, very clearly now that the, let's say, top-end hospital environment is an extremely competitive one, and you have the likes of the Cleveland Clinic, the Mayo Clinic, MD Anderson, John Hopkins, and a long list of other, what I would call exceptionally professional and qualified facilities now competing for business. There's never been, let's say, a better time to be able to provide access to absolute world-leading medical care. We essentially provide an environment that allows people to identify it, access it, and get back. And that's done through a very, very sort of hand-holding concierge exercise. That said, and I would like, because this is about being able to share with you the experience that we've had with Intesa SanPaolo, I'll let Giovanni give some details around the bank. I think it's relevant to put that into the context of the profile of an employer that has a large multinational footprint. Okay, so if we start just by Giovanni giving us a sense of really what the bank looks like as an organization.
Yeah, sure. So Intesa SanPaolo is, as I said, the biggest bank in Italy, but also has an international footprint. Basically, we are located in 12 other countries where we have retail banks and where we operate with 25,000 employees. Our division is the International Subsidiary Banks Division, and actually I'm the person in charge of developing benefit plans for our employees. In the framework that we created with Further, we actually wanted to have our employees covered, creating, let's say, a ground that would be the one on which we are building up, additional benefits. But this had to be the same, so that an employee of Intesa SanPaolo is a member of our family and gets the same benefits across all of the different countries where we're present. Our idea was to turn from, how can I say, a benefit equals money idea that was spread all over the countries where we're present, which are mainly in the Central Eastern Europe, to an idea of benefit means something related to well-being, something that my employer is providing me in order to make me feel better, in order to, let's say, create the condition for me to work without stress.
Okay, so I mean, within that context, you would be finding solutions that would fit that, if you want, profile. Okay, so uniform of benefits that wouldn't mean that an employee in one country felt that they were less important than an employee of another country. What are the challenges, I think, for an organisation like yourselves in finding that type of a solution?
Well, of course, being present in 12 different markets, creates a challenge with standardization, because we have different legal frameworks, different kind of mentalities, different kind of benefits that were already provided, autonomously by our subsidiaries. So we needed to create something that would fit all of the sizes across our subsidiaries. And I would say that we engineered, together with you, of course, a product that actually is equal for everyone, everywhere, and that provides a high level of care for our employees, and that is unique, I would say, because so far we are the only bank that is providing this worldwide where we are present.
Okay, and when we're talking about something like serious medical conditions, and I think that for a lot of employers, how does that fit into what is relevant? Okay, how did you arrive as an organization at a conclusion that something specifically aimed at serious medical conditions would be welcomed, if you want, uniformly and popularly by the employees of all these different markets?
Well, our idea was, first of all, we conducted a survey on what's present and what's not present in our subsidiaries. And then we took a decision also having in mind the countries where we're present. In the countries where we're present, actually receiving a cancer diagnosis means, to receive a death sentence. And, for us, this is not acceptable. We want to fight this. We want to care for our employees. We want to be there for them when they need us the most. So, the product that we were looking for was something that would counter that. And the idea was to have a wide network of centers, medical centers, that could be accessible for our employees for free and whenever they need them.
Right. And the coming up with a solution, and I'll let you talk to, let's say, the characteristics specifically of the program that was put in place. The objectives as an organization in terms of what you wanted to achieve with that program, and I think for the audience, it's a collaboration that now has entered into its 6th year. Give us perhaps a description of the objectives that you were seeking to achieve and the characteristics of the program that you were offering to the employees.
Yeah. We wanted to create something that, of course, would relieve the stress from our employees in this particular situation. We wanted to create something that could motivate them, something that would also retain them, because we are present in very competitive markets where actually, let's say, it's not just about money. So we needed to find out something that was not present in these markets and that could trigger them, to stay within the company, because if they're going somewhere else, they would actually lose these benefits. And we wanted to have something that was unique also in terms of pricing. Because what was important for us is that, our Egyptian colleagues, they're not charged more than our Slovenian colleagues simply because they have a better, healthcare system locally. And we needed to do this with the amount of money that we had. Of course, we had limited budgets, and we found out this solution creating a mixed, let's say, contractual forms, also from the insurance standpoint, in order to benefit from the local specificities of the regulations. So if in one country I know that I have a tax relief if the benefit is provided directly by the local employer, I'm providing it through the local employer. On the other hand, if I have another kind of benefit, if the parent company is providing this in a third country, I'm doing this through the parent company. So the program is actually completely flexible from the administrative standpoint, from the budgetary standpoint. And it's also flexible for the employee and customer service use, because they can access call center, multi-languages, whenever they want, 24/7. They have a dedicated website in their own language. They do not need to know English. They can do it in Moldovan, for instance, in Romanian, in Russian, in whatever language they're familiar with. And for them, it's completely free. They don't need if they have some privacy issues, they don't want this to be shared with the HR, they can contact them immediately, because also, some of them, they don't want to know that the company knows their condition.
And do you just want to briefly perhaps summarize the characteristics of the particular program in terms of the benefits? So what is it that the employees, and because this is a one-size-fits-all, literally what I think Giovanni can describe is what every single employee would receive regardless of the country where they reside.
Yeah. Basically, in case they get some diagnosis of serious conditions, and this is related to cancer, transplants, neurosurgery, heart surgery, everything which is really relevant and life-threatening, they can contact the contact center, and then they get several options. In case the situation is very critical, they get shipped immediately to one of the best medical centers in the world, of their choice, of course, in a third country. Or they can get a second medical opinion, or they can wait for the second medical opinion and again get treated abroad. But during the pandemics, actually, considering that there was travel bans and some of our colleagues were not able to get their treatment, we were flexible and we organized this, even if it's not a characteristic of the program itself, we organized this at home, in country, so that everyone could actually receive the treatment that they were needing without having to go under an additional stress. All the medical bills, all the medical, let's say, logistics, flights, accommodation, they are taken care for from the program itself, from the insurance companies that are following, they are fronting us in the different countries where we're present. All, let's say, medical resumes and reports, they are translated so that the doctors that are going to actually, look at them, they can understand them. And in case they are needed for some additional exams and everything, they can directly interact with the patient.
Right. And I think just to perhaps clarify that, because it is a general characteristic, so if I had to define highlights of the program Intesa or any other program we're involved in, it would be that there is no financial participation of any kind by the employee. So the concepts of co-insurance, the concept of travel accommodation, obviously you want to go with an accompanying person, maybe a translation is needed. Essentially, I think when you develop a particular proposition, we find it very easy because we always go from a patient journey, okay? And essentially, every time we come up against some type of barrier, which is if you're covering medical expenses, what good is that if you have to pay travel, if you have to pay accommodation, if you have to pay for co-insurance? So it is absolutely something where all the stress and strain, the concierge, the arrangements, the payment, it's not a reimbursement product. Nobody's trying to figure out what invoices do I need to present? Am I paying something that's not covered? It's all direct pay. We literally just get somebody on a plane, they're sort of hand-holding the whole journey and coming back again. And so I think that makes the adoption for the individuals who want to use that type of service, extremely, I would say, easy, okay, for that type of engagement. I would sort of just also point out, so I think in the particular case of Intesa, we're talking about 12 countries, I think it is in total,
12
give or take,
countries.
okay, with a very sort of widespread of geographic situation, cultural. I mean, serious medical condition, whether it's cancer, cardiovascular, neurological, is the same the world over, okay? But culturally, there are big differences. And I think it's very, very important when people say to us, and I think this was very old school, which people would say, if I have a problem, the good old days, you would perhaps say, yeah, I want to get out to the US because there's a lot of good stuff going on there. The world is a very balanced place in terms of medical expertise. And once again, what I mentioned at the start, which is you're seeing this growing, I would say, generalization from a geographic standpoint. The MD Anderson, for those of you who know it, is considered to be one of the leading oncology hospitals in the world. The only international affiliate is in Madrid. Okay, very convenient for people. Cleveland Clinic, you've got to stand, they're opening up in London. The Mayo Clinic opening up in London. Johns Hopkins has a number of affiliations throughout Europe. So that proximity of access, it's no longer about, there's this long trip, going somewhere, it's stressful, time differences, how do you engage? We found very, very quickly that there is this convenience factor, which even for us was a surprise. I mean, do you put convenience into oncology treatment? Actually, it played a very, very large role in that concept, okay? And so that, I think, for us, in terms of the overall program and its adoption were very, very important. I think, as we're drawing close to the time, I mean, a sense of what were the initial objectives, how the program has developed and has been used over time. And once again, many of you may be thinking, Yeah, what sort of utilization does that get? An approximate figure, 5 up, 5 down. We've had 250 claims, okay, in the space of 6 years. And these claims are varying in nature, okay? Anything from I'm just going out for chemo, I'm going out for surgery, and it isn't, well, what happens when you get back? There's all the support of the continuing care that goes forward. So I like to think that, this has been a long thought process. I mean, Further in its existing format has been around since 2017, but we're actually a management buyout, senior managers out of an organization, which I think some of you will have heard of, Best Doctors. And so many years in the making of understanding the challenges around what is the concept of international care. And I'd also say that I think that when people talk about what you have locally, in the case of Intesa, it's a certain geography, but our business is very widespread, and we see that the consumerism that comes into healthcare, that people are saying, I've got a serious medical condition. In the good old days, you'd go into your doctor, fairly submissive, I suspect. You might be lucky if they actually look at you in the eye, and you'd walk away with questions. That sort of morphed into second opinion providers coming into the market. But now people are very conscious of what's out there. How do I access it? How do I pay for it? Okay, and so once again, the other perhaps, I wouldn't say it's a misconception, but certainly where we play a role, we're really not in the IPMI, we're not in the executive, we're not in the expat. I think that's a very well-served market, either through insurance or through personal wealth. We are solely focused on mass market, okay? And the best representation of mass market, I think, are sort of the employee set across things. So we typically find that programs are adopted. Once again, in the case of Intesa SanPaolo, I think it was very clear that the idea was that this would be available to the wider employee base. Exactly.
We were looking for something that could involve everyone, as I was saying, at a reasonable price, because of course, I mean, if food would exceed our budgets, we wouldn't be able to do that. And actually, I can tell you that it's, for us, it's affordable. It's something that you can do it. Because simply it's a matter of finding, the right loopholes in the systems, but you can do it, I wouldn't say for free, of course, but you can do it easily. And this has an impact, of course, on motivation, retention of people, and, even if one of them, even if the program is not used at all, but even if one of them gets relief from something, it's already worth all of the efforts, because we are not doing this, to provide the benefit. We're doing this for helping people. This is what we are caring for.
Okay. And I think, I'll leave perhaps a minute or so just to take any questions if there are any. Affordability is a very generic term, and being introduced as the bank with the largest assets might distort what is affordable and what's not affordable. I wouldn't sort of like to throw a price out there for the sake of it, but I can tell you if we're talking about what is the ballpark of this, it's below 15 euros a month per employee. And so someone was saying, all right, well, we'd need to see what's the small print and what's not. It's genuinely what we've said. I mean, this is why can we create the affordability. So we're in the business of creating high perceived value at an affordable cost, okay? And that is done how? It's done by being able to access wide numbers. We understand utilization levels, and we can create programs that, to put that into context, in the 6 years, not only has it not gone up in price, it's actually come down because we have a mechanism in there to do that.
Exactly.
So I can see this, the clock's changed colour to red, so that's always a problem, so I'll perhaps pass it back to you.